better just say hello to everybody. Hey, everybody in Facebook. Sorry, we've been a bit too. It's probably a slightly more relaxed start than I was looking for because we've been way too busy chatting. So let's have a look. Dave Thomas is watching. Hi, Dave. Hayden Mowbray, evening both. He says.
Hey,
Oh, we've got Garrett's in from New Zealand. Hey,
wow,
he says morning.
morning.
And let's have a look. Who else? Dave Barlow's in. Evening, dudes.
Hey
Uh,
Dave, hope you're well, mate.
And yes, the Barlow is in the house. Rob Cox is watching. Martin's here. Hi, everybody. Chris James is in. Hello, everybody. Right, okay. We should start officially. So, I've got it written down in front of me. The GigRig, Tin
Okay,
Spirits, that pedal show. Yep, you guessed it. It's Mr. Daniel Steinhardt.
Right, well, thank you very much. It's
That's
a
all right,
pleasure to
dude.
be here.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good.
Yeah?
Really good. Yeah, been a good day. It was leg day today, so I'm a little bit tired. But apart from that, I'm okay.
It was what day?
Leg day.
Leg day.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on what
I
leg
just,
day is?
I train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu,
Yeah.
and because that's not gone on for a few months, so I got a personal trainer like 4 days a week just online. And so we've got this routine that we're trying to stick to so that when I get back, I'm not just rolled in through the doors. And yeah, so just 4 times a week doing some stuff. Like today was leg down, but because I'm doing that, I feel really good. I feel really, really good.
Okay, now I understand. So when is stomach day?
Oh, every day is stomach day.
Every day is.
Honestly, it's become a sport within this household. I think I'm still ahead. My son's not far behind me, but it's anyone's game at this stage.
Fine, fine. Okay, let's have a look. Martin's in. Hello, everybody. Hello, Martin. Uh,
Hello.
Danny says, "Hey guys." Ah, Ben York Barber. Hi, folks. Says Ben. And you know what we say, Ben? We say, "I say, ding dong." Um, Yang Vertal. I hope I've said that right, Yang. Sorry. Thierry's in. Hello.
I'll just say this while you're saying hello to everyone, because
Yeah,
obviously there's some people from Guitar Breaks. Um,
there are. Yeah.
yeah, so I first met Ian when he invited Mick and myself over to do Guitar Breaks in Italy, and it was one of the best. I'll never forget it. It's one of the best weeks ever. We had so much fun. It was so beautiful. Ate some of the best food. Yeah, and funnily enough, a lot of those guys have come back. We've seen them again on other little things that we've done, like down in Brighton and stuff. And yeah, such a great vibe.
It
Really,
was.
really hoping to do it again at some point.
Well, we are. Yes. Well, we won't go into too much detail about that, but the answer
Okay.
is let's see what we can make happen.
Yes.
I think that's the thing to say. But yes, it would be lovely. Let's see, Joe from Carefree, Arizona. Oh, okay. Hi,
Oh,
Joe. And Helen Armand Jones, Lenny Maurice. Hi, Lenny. And Mike Goodman's in the house. All the legendary
oh,
Michael.
hey, Mike.
He says, "Evening, gents." Okay, so let me get started with this
Hmm.
incisive and topical interview. We're going to get down to brass tacks, Dan.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
so, Australia,
Yes.
it is your homeland.
Hmm.
Childhood, upbringing, can you remember a time when you didn't actually play the guitar?
No, I'll be quick with this. Um, so the story is my mum was pregnant with me when she was learning to play guitar, and she only stopped when she couldn't hold on to the guitar anymore. And I think it was Christmas. My brother was 5, I was 3, and he got one of those little cheap acoustic guitars in one of those triangle cardboard boxes. He opened it up and he strummed the strings, and I freaked out, sort of recognizing that sound or whatever it was. And I just mum went out and got me a guitar like the next day, and I've been sort of on it like ever since. And I think I don't know whether it was that experience or whatever, but for me, um, it's always been it's the sound of the instrument first for me that came first before the music. I wish I wish I was this great musician, that sort of stuff, and that was sort of in my bones and sort of seeping through my pores. But it's something that sort of came later because I sort of fell in love with the sound of guitar, and when and I think that growing up in Australia, I grew up in Brisbane, and where the rest of the world was like another universe. I used to think that like America was, I was like in the Truman Show, and America was only ever put on TV to make me think that there was this other place and it really didn't exist. So and I think musically growing up, all that stuff felt like such a long way away. But it was sonically, it was the sound of the guitar that drew me into into the music, I should say. Toured Australia since I started playing pubs and that, as you do. Ended up touring with some artists in Australia. Toured with an artist called Wendy Matthews for a while, but I'm mainly toured with an artist called Max Sharan, and was her guitar player for years. And yeah, it was great. We toured all around Australia. We toured with Chris Isaacs.
Cool.
And it was actually her album, the album called Million Year Girl. Extraordinary album. So she was like, she had this operatic way of like almost like a Kate Bush type thing. Songs were genius, but really artistic and creative. So, being her guitar player for a number of years was wonderful, and ended up playing. After that, was just playing covers. Had a band called the Wheelers with the drummer from Icehouse, Paul Wheeler. Yeah. And I mean, we're still great friends. I talked to him yesterday. We played in that band for years. We were doing 6 nights a week. But I've always, ever since I could play, I've loved it. I've identified with it. It's just been, yeah.
Well, who were the great artists, like the great bands or the great singers who were doing the rounds in those days? Who were like the big Australian sort of exports, if you like? Because there's a whole bunch of them.
There's a whole bunch of them. So I think John Farnham, when that album Whispering Jack came out, and that was absolutely massive. And his guitar player, a guy called Brett Garsett, who many people know from lots of people have seen him doing his shred stuff, but he's the most extraordinary guitar player, and I think he sent a tape to John when he was like 16 or something, of him just noodling at home, and that's how he got the gig. And the band was great. So yeah, there's that Icehouse, obviously very big. The album called Man of Colours. Cold Chisel. Ian Moss, the most extraordinary soul guitar player, and that band had some incredible songs and some great albums. And yes, they were great. Midnight Oil was a very big band for me.
They were massive.
And I probably saw them 6 or 7 times.
Okay.
And still the best live experience I've ever had, going to see a Midnight Oil gig. The energy that was off some of those gigs was just unforgettable, indescribable.
Okay.
There was very much Australian rock. It was live and well. It was a great time to grow up loving guitar.
So when you were growing up and when you were learning, what was like the first thing on the guitar? I mean, apart from the sound and that sort of thing that just sort of enveloped you from the early days. What was the thing that made you suddenly realize, first of all, this is an amazing instrument, and second of all, I can play this, I can develop, I can get better? What was the technique that you learned, or the chord that you discovered? What was the thing?
Okay. So the first thing that I played on the guitar that I thought, hey man, I'm awesome, was this. That stuff. I was so okay. This is a really sad story, right? I was growing up in quite a religious family, and we weren't allowed to listen to, even though I did, but we weren't allowed to listen to like the equivalent to Radio 1. I wasn't allowed to listen to that at home. We were quite limited on the music that we were allowed in the house. And my brother played guitar, and I'll never forget it. He came home one day and he went, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. And so I went from here. And then before I knew it, I'm going, all that stuff. I thought I had invented tapping. I'd never heard it before, right? I thought I invented it. And then we're at my mum's house, and my brother used to bring albums in. He brought home 1984 by Van Halen, and he put it on and I sat down in front of the stereo and started crying when I heard Eddie Van Halen do it. I was 12 or something, but I don't know why, but I think I listened to, so much of that stuff for so long, and actually hearing and experiencing other stuff that you could get out of the guitar that was just so exciting. And picking the guitar up by its whammy and throwing it around and stuff. And I think it expressed something that I hadn't heard expressed before. And I mean, whether that was just, hormones, it was cool. So I, when I was growing up, I was shred-tastic. I had Steve Vai Gem, and all that stuff. And I had racks of, processors. Well, I had a Roland GP8, like one of their first rack units. And because there was something about, I didn't have a father that listened to Led Zeppelin or the Beatles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was all new to me.
Yeah. So,
I think I first heard Steve Vai's Flexible, when it first came out, and hearing that harmony that he used, it was so Zappa, so angular, and I was astounded. And I remember there was that song called Little Green Men. That's right. And I'd never heard a song that wasn't in 4/4, or at least a time signature that I could count. And it was like, that was an Attitude song. Anyway, Little Green Man had all this weird 7/8, stuff going on. Anyway, I grabbed my drummer friend and I said, tell me what's going on here. And because I couldn't work it out. But by my nature, if I couldn't work it out, I had to work it out, Steve Vai was massive for me growing up in that era. But then I was doing all that and it was fun. But then I remember I was at the Gold Coast and listened to this. I was going to do this gig for a soul singer who was, I was friends with his daughter, and also the keyboard player I was playing with had done some work for him as well. And he took me to see a band at the Gold Coast, and this guitar player had this really old Strat. A fret was missing out of it. He had a Fender Twin with one of the speakers was ripped in half. And he had 3 pedals on the floor. I thought, this is going to sound awful, because I had the rack stuff, I had all the state-of-the-art technology, and this guy sounded like God. I sat there and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it was such a pivotal moment for me, because I knew that no matter, with all the stuff that I had, I knew I could come nowhere near to getting the sound that he had. So beautiful. But
was that the gear that he was using, or was that
the approach?
That was the approach he was taking.
It was the gear that enabled him to sound the way he did. It was the tone that enabled him to express. Yeah. And I had none of that. Well, I had flashy, I could make wow noises. Yeah. But when it came to being soulful and actually playing something that moved somebody, that wasn't in my wheelhouse. So I sort of did a complete 180, and it was around that time I discovered Crowded House, and songs,
Yeah.
you know, and I went totally the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's interesting because you wouldn't believe it, but I do actually do a bit of research prior to doing these things. It kind of doesn't quite come across that way, but I found a quote from something you said years ago, I guess, and it's kind of like a definition of tone, if you like. Now,
Right.
I guess I think what you've just said kind of chimes with this, but you said, by itself, a pedal amp or guitar makes no sound. It only reacts to what is going into it. So that all depends on the player. So that is the process. Finding the stuff that sounds good with you at the helm. This is what tone is. It's the vehicle that allows you to express something personal through sound.
Yeah.
And I really thought, you know, for those of us, shall we say, I'll include myself in that, the never-ending search, not only for your tone that allows you to express yourself as the player that you actually are, but also for a definition of tone itself. I think a lot of people kind of scrabble around for what they're actually talking about when they're talking about tone. But I think you've kind of, in your own special way, you've encapsulated it there. So the question then rolls out of that is, well, how did you get your ideal tone?
Okay. So it's a combination of things. It's a combination of, well, first of all, it's a journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And it's understanding that, you know, that thing, no amount of gear is going to make me sound awesome unless there's something in here to come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But okay, so a good example is like I was saying before, I didn't grow up with amazing rock music. That wasn't in my bones. You know, I didn't grow up with any sort of groove type stuff. You know, it was very, very limited. And yeah, we had you know, radio and that sort of stuff that we listened to at school, and we always sang. So one thing that I did have is that I could do harmony like very easily. I'd drive in the car with my sisters, and we could just harmonize, do 3-part harmony. No matter what came on, we could just do it. And that's what we grew up with, that sort of almost choral type thing. But because I didn't, so saying that, I don't have, my sense of rhythm has always been a bit pushy. You know what I mean? If you know, it's like Kirk Fletcher. When you listen to him and his groove, and that, you can listen to him play 2 notes all night, and you go, best thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I don't have that. So for me, I think, okay, the least I can do is make it interesting. Now, for me, the interesting thing comes in harmony. So, you know, knowing the way the chords work and knowing the way they work with each other, and then using that to base melodic lines off and things like that. And then that's definitely a journey. But it's a journey that marries with the guitars that you choose to play. Like, you know, I had started off with a Gem. I've now got this, you know, I now play Telecasters. You know, amongst other guitars, but this Telecaster has become my main guitar because I worked out a long time ago that if I couldn't say it on this, then I couldn't say it on anything else. You know what I mean? It's the simplest electric guitar there is. You know, well, almost. This does have a neck pickup in it, but no, I mean,
you got 2 pickups.
It's 2 bits of wood. It's just, you know, strings through the body. Bang. That's what you've got. And so trying to be in a place where you can say something on a guitar like this, that was my goal. But then I discovered things like I was doing. So the band I was in Sydney, I was in a band called Glory with this guy called Mark Cuff, just astonishing singer-songwriter, sort of in the vein of Tom Petty, Nirvana, you know, amazing. He used to be the drummer actually from a band in Australia called Spy vs. Spy. Amazing musician, such a gifted songwriter. So I was in that band, and and writing songs with him, and we were recording, and the producer, I had all my rack gear and stuff. I think I was playing. I had a 1961 L series, 64 L series Strat that was stolen, and then that's how it ended up in Telecaster. But anyway, we went to do this session, and I had all my digital gear. And the producer brought in this box of old pedals. And I was like, man, what are you doing? They're old. I've got all the state-of-the-art stuff here. You don't need that stuff. He goes, just humor me, Dan. And he plugged in this old electric Mistress into a Blackface Deluxe Reverb. And I just hit the first chord. And I just remember that feeling of being so connected to the sound that came out, and it moved me, and it's fundamentally changed me at that moment, because one thing was because I didn't understand how something that was like 30 years old could sound so much better than this digital stuff that I was using. It blew my mind. And then he brought out a CE1. I was putting it, went, and he had this old fuzz face thing made, and so had a bunch of these pedals, and I must have wasted half the day in the studio, just sat down, just trying to work it out, and plugging in the digital stuff, going into the same amp stuff, going, it's gone. I've dialed up the same settings, but it's gone. So anyway, that was the start of my journey into pedals, because what I found was, with like the Mistress, for me specifically, as soon as I played that, I just felt so connected. And that connectivity for me tonally is freeing, So going back to what I was saying about, players like, Fletcher and Mick, these guys can hold down grooves and that sort of stuff and really be connected. And it's amazing. For me, I needed to be interesting harmonically and interesting sonically, So yeah, that was my journey into sort of going back to analog and trying to understand why I felt this way when I played through this old gear.
Right, well, we're going to have a little look at what gear you're actually using.
Okay.
I'm aware you've got a few little bits and bobs on the floor, am I right?
I've got some bits, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can show you that.
First of all, let's just do some shout outs. Brendan's watching. Hungry Hippo, hello. Tony Brooks is in. He says Steinhardt. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Tony. And then he says Struth, and then he says Skipper
Struth,
in the background. Emilio Massari's watching. Hi, Emilio. And
hello.
And my brother Paul is watching, so I've got to say hello and wave to Paul. Hi. David says Van Halen was the reason he picked up the guitar.
Right.
Oh, Sharon Fagan Stewart's watching, which means Brian might well be watching as well from LA. Hello to you both.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Simon's watching as well. Simon, he says, hi Ian, hi Dan. And
hey, mate.
Okay, so this is becoming a theme. Oh, Robin Burrows is in. Hey Robin, how you doing?
Hey Robin.
Man alive, can that guy play? Whew.
Oh yeah.
So Hans has said, and who else said? I think Tony said, could you please ask Dan what the P90 guitar is hanging on the wall behind him?
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me get that for you. Okay, so anyone that watches that pedal show will know that we got this amazing Jazzmaster, and we thought, okay, we'll do some stuff with offset guitars. Mick gets a Jazzmaster, and I'm going to get a Jag. Mick got the Jazzmaster, and it was great, really beautiful. I thought, great, I'm really looking forward to the Jag, and I got the Jag, and I hated it. Sorry, I hate present tense it. I don't know why. I think binding on guitars, just that's one thing. It just felt like plasticky and horrible. So anyway, and I was really jealous. I was really jealous of Mick's Jazzmaster because it sounded awesome. So I had a friend of mine, Tom Gray from Gray Guitars in London.
Oh, Tom, yeah.
And I had a Telecaster. He made me a Telecaster. I was using it for guitar synth mainly, but I'm going to do some more stuff to it. I'm going to turn it into like a telly strap type thing, basically a strap with a telly bridge. Anyway, I saw this picture of this guitar that he'd made, and I thought, oh, that looks amazing. And when we were at the Birmingham Guitar Show, I saw him and he had it, and it's this. So basically, it's a Jag style body, but with the P90 hardware, and yet simple pickup selector. You know, this beautiful mastery bridge. You know, with a gold finish on it is just epic. And, you know, this gorgeous look at the neck. Anyway, I picked it up and played it, and it was just. So
that is a beautiful thing.
It's just awesome. Yeah, so I love his guitars. It does beautiful work. So yeah, so this is called the Skipper.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the offset that I use now when I want that. It's just awesome.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's magic.
Okay, right. Questions in from some of the guys watching. Chris James. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Which artist would you love to build a rig for?
Two. I would love to build a rig for Katie Tunstall because I've seen the mess of pedals she has on the floor. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to sort you out because she's amazing.
Yeah.
We had her lined up to come on the show to do a thing on loopers, but the timings just didn't quite work out. But I am going to get her on the show, and I am going to build her a rig. But I think she's amazing. And also, I'm desperate to build a rig for Matt Berry.
Matt Berry?
What? Matt Berry.
Hang on a minute.
Matt Berry from the IT Crowd and from.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Matt is, he's from Toast and stuff.
Yeah.
I just love the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's absolutely hilarious. But he's also an incredible musician. So I saw his band support Stephen Wilson at the Royal Albert Hall. Totally blew me away. And anyway, he sent me a message on Twitter once. And I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, I'd love to build a rig for him. You know, I mean, of course, I'd love to build a rig for Eric Johnson and all those guys. But, you know, really, I'd love to build a rig for Kay Tunstall and Matt Berry. Let me tick those two boxes off.
Okay, fine. He sneaks a second cheeky question in under the wire, does Chris? But it's okay because he's a doctor, so we'll let him do that.
Oh, okay.
He says, and this is very particular, so you'll need to know your Karma Police. He says, okay. How can I get the sound Ed O'Brien brings in at the end of Karma Police around 3 minutes 39? Do you know the bit I'm talking about? It's the bit that goes.
Yeah, okay. So I think that was done originally on a sampler.
Okay.
But if you see, it's so interesting with that because it goes down so slow that it almost goes like subsonic. But I've seen them do that with a sampler live. I think if you want to do it if you've got a really great clean sound digital delay with a really like a 16-second delay, that you can then take that and then start slowing that rate down to like, and then you can get that. So it's like building up a little loop, because that loop would have been accidental.
Yeah.
And then it's taking that and then slowing that down.
It's kind of the sort of thing that I used to attempt years ago in the other direction with the Electro Harmonics Music Man. What's it called? Memory Man.
Yeah.
You could get it in so it was holding forever. You had some weird noises hold, and then you turn the speed up, and it goes. Boop, 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 boop. You could sort of get the same thing with that, but
So that's it's analog delay oscillation. Where the feedback path starts to self oscillate. Yeah.
Okay.
But the memory man does something really special in that setting. It's really great.
It does. We were having a little bit of a nerd out about the memory man on the Guitar Breaks thing the other day, just posting pictures of them, because there is something that lurks inside the old school memory man that doesn't seem to lurk anywhere else. It just has something.
So there's a couple of things.
Okay.
Yes, the old MN3009 Panasonic chips are a big thing, but one thing that the memory man does have is it has no filtering. And therefore, it's noisy, but it has top end. And a lot of analog delays, they filter because they do get noisy. And I think, well, I want to try and get rid of that noise. But inherently, when you filter that stuff out, you do affect the top end. So there's that. The modulation in the memory man is just something else.
The tremolo is amazing.
Just incredible. It's really wonderful sounding thing. And actually, one of those pictures that you posted for the interview today of me holding a memory man. So that's the memory man that I loaned to Neil Finn for the latest tour. And then when I went and saw him and met him and Sharon and the boys, and I said, okay, I want you to do me a favor. I want you all just to sign that pedal for me. And so they just did little artwork, and Neil drew that guitar. So that's like, if I couldn't love a memory man anymore, then now I do.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I have to say I use that picture for a purpose, because that pedal is. I mean, I've had one of those for 300 years, and it's just one of those. It's a life-changing thing. Yeah,
very special.
If anybody wanted to, if anybody was thinking about a pedal to buy, I would recommend one of those.
Well, funnily enough, talking about Ed O'Brien, when I was building his rigs, and because we both love the memory man, and it's like I want something that's probably a bit more reliable for touring and stuff, and we tried every analog delay you can imagine.
Yeah. And
nothing came close to it. Come close. Some things did come close, like the ARDX20 from Analog Man with the Amazio, which is the modulation part. That sounds really great, but it didn't have the top end and the repeats that the Memory Man's got. There's a few things that did sound really good, but every time we put that old Memory Man back on, it was like it just had it. Unreal sounding thing.
It's got whatever the thing is.
And whatever that thing is, it's got it.
It's got the thing. Okay, so Mikhail, I hope I've said your name right, Mikhail, said he says, looking back at TPS, it started 5 years ago. Oh, we're on to that pedal show.
Okay.
You know that pedal show?
I've heard of it.
You're aware of their work. He said it started 5 years.
I'm aware of their work.
He says, did you expect it to be the success it has become?
I guess everything is relative. I mean, compared to lots of YouTube channels, like when Mick and I go out to Germany every year and hang out with some of the other music YouTube guys, and some of these guys have got 2 million, 3 million subscribers. So in that sense, if you look at it that way, it's like, well, we're tiny. However, it's the success that it has become is something that we're passionate about and we absolutely love doing. And where I mean, we've got 230 something thousand subscribers. We get, a
your
million views every
engagement
month.
is through the roof.
But for long form videos, I mean, they're an hour long.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've got people who enjoy this gear as much as we do and enjoy the conversation as much as we do, who want to sit down with us and just nerd out with us over this stuff. That's where our success is. We've met this community that love this stuff as much as we do. Because if you're really passionate about something that let's face it, is niche.
Yep.
It's when you can connect with people who share the same passion. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
So we do a live stream every Monday, and just hanging out, especially now at the moment with everything that's going on, being able to hang out and chat online with everyone for a couple of hours, it's magic. So so in that sense, that success was a complete surprise.
Can I?
And we are grateful for it every day.
I'm going to attempt a slightly left of center measure of success.
Okay.
Because I remember when you guys came over to Italy for Guitar Breaks.
Yep.
The night that we played the gig at the bar with Deborah and the ladies that run it up there, up at Bar Il Pratino.
And the mayor.
And yes, and the mayor and the head of police, Ben. You know who we're talking about. That night, a young lad. Now, bear in mind that this is a tiny little village on the Tuscany-Umbria border. I think maybe 200 people live there. It's pretty much out in the sticks.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful little place, and we always try and do a concert there on the Thursday night if we can. But after we'd finished playing, a young lad brought his guitar over to you and Mick and asked you to sign it. Now, from my perspective, I'm watching that and I consider that to be a success. The fact that you've reached somebody in that area who's committed enough to want to come and get you to sign their guitar, I just think is an amazing measure of how well it's done.
So yeah, and it's wonderful. The fact that, look, it's a really weird thing to say, especially at my age when I've given up any hope of anything like that. But we get recognised out at places. And that's really weird.
Yeah.
But the reality is that that wasn't the goal. Mick and I started this just to, have some. The way the show started was, I've known Mick for a long time, and I was after some advice on some GigRig stuff. That's okay. I'm going to get Mick to do some consulting, and every time we got together to do our consulting meeting, we'd just sit and talk about pedals for hours and hours. Even now, when Mick calls me, we'll be on the phone for half an hour talking about pedals.
Yeah.
It's still. And tone and guitars, we're so passionate about it. So, and eventually, we gave up on the marketing meetings. We said, well, let's just do this. Let's just talk about this stuff, and we'll sit in front of a camera and film it, and some people might like it. And it's turned out that people have liked it. It's been, and we started off with, I think 15-minute videos, and then 20-minute videos, and then 40-minute videos. They got longer and longer and longer. And we thought, and every time they got longer, we thought, there's no way anyone's going to watch this, But because we try and edit it down, but then we get to a point where you've edited all the soul out of it, Because we found out that the conversation about this stuff was really important.
Well, part of the magic is when you guys go off on one.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
I mean, you can't. It may not be necessarily directly relevant to what you're talking about, but that's the stuff. That's the part of the process that people want to be engaged with. So I think, from that perspective. So,
I think for me, the fact that anyone sat down to watch it,
Yeah.
I remember, we got our first 1,000 subscribers, and we were like, "This is amazing!" People will actually sit down and watch this, and yeah, to what it's become, and now we've got a great little studio, and producer and assistant, and it just means that we can do more of what we love to do, and try and ask. Because our whole thing is there are no answers, only better questions. And this has enabled us to ask better questions.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the show that's going out tomorrow is a show on multi-head tape machines. And we're able to get these great old units and a new tape machine, and also like an RE20, and compare that to the new one. But then I also talk about the components of what makes these things great. And I build a tape machine out of pedals. So I grab a preamp for the preamp circuit. I grab like an LA2A style limiter to do the tape compression. I grab a Wetterbox parallel mixer. I show the split. Then I do the delay heads with 2 different kill dry delay pedals, some modulation that replicates. So I go through every stage of what makes that great, and then feeding that signal back in itself. And it's like, when you see things put together like that, for me, it's like, it just makes so much sense when you can. And so when you go out and you think, okay, the sort of delay that I want a tape delay. Do I want a single head? Do I want a multi-head one? Or I've heard tape delays. You know what? I'm really not into them. What I want for the sound that I'm looking for is a really clean digital delay. And I think when people see effects and pedals put in that context, it just helps them understand, okay, I really like that sound, but that one I probably won't connect with. So that when you go out to buy the stuff, you're informed. And I think for us, when people email us and say, it happens quite often that, a guy might not have played guitar for 20 years because he could never find anything that he connected with, and now he's gone out and bought, because of the information that he's learned, he's gone out and got 6 pedals, and he's back in and he's loving it. That's success for me.
Yeah.
I love that. It's I feel really honoured to be part of this community and be able to. Why it's such a big deal to me is because, growing up, this was a really big deal to me. You know what I mean? And it's been such a massive part of my life because I found a way to feel connected with it, and it's enhanced my life. And for me, it's really, really important stuff.
Yeah.
And and I've done it professionally for a long time, but it doesn't change the validity of someone who just wants to relax on the weekend and play a couple of songs. If you're doing that and able to play and express something for half an hour on a weekend, that's just as valid as anything else anyone will ever do on the guitar.
Yeah.
I love that. I love being part of that. It's great.
But I think one of the things, I don't know if wearing your heart on the sleeve is the right thing, but you are very emotional about guitar sounds. And I think this is one of the things that drives that kind of, this isn't just another show about stuff. This is people who are absolutely, utterly engorged with it. Is that a good word? I don't know. Sorry about that. But you know what I'm saying? You are sort of overflowing with a passion for this, for some of these sort of random silver boxes that sit on the floor. But that's not the thing. Yeah. The thing is, it's what it draws out of you as a player. And I think, absolutely. I think that's a really, really comes across. And that's one of the reasons why I think ultimately that you'll continue to have the success that you're having.
Thank you.
Moving on quickly.
But that's right. That's exactly right.
Moving on quickly from my use of engorged. I'm going to go... Right. Because we've not got much longer. There's a few people come in. I just want to shout out. And Mike Goodman says that he still owes you a beer.
And I'll take you up on that, Mike, at some point.
He says,
hopefully in the near future.
I bought one of the early GigRig Pro 14 boards with the MIDI
Legend.
switching. It didn't do what it wanted. Dan took it back, remodeled it, every button, blah blah blah. Thank you, Dan. I need to upgrade to a G2. I'll try not to be so annoying this time, he says.
No worries, mate. No.
Mike, you can be as annoying as you like. Johannes is watching. Hey, Johannes. He says,
hey, mate.
Sorry, he says he's sorry he's late. Oh, my son Max is watching. Well, with my grandson Jamie. Hello, Jamie.
Wow.
Hello, Jamie. You doing all right? Granddad here. David Barlow said, "Arse, there's a pedal I don't have." Okay. TPS deliver quality. Bev Davis is watching. Salut,
so
Daniel.
Big shout out to Bev. Bev's out at the. He looks after our live streams and also our Facebook page, I think. Yeah, but Bev's like our administrator. He really looks after us. So massive shout out to Bev and thank you for all your help, mate. You're an absolute superstar.
Okay, Sean O'Leary. Well, here you go. Sean O'Leary says TPS is the best guitar channel on YouTube. I owe my complete setup to Mick and Dan.
Oh, awesome.
So no pressure there, dude. Who else is in? Carmelo Ragusa's in. Ciao, Carmelo. And, oh, God, loads of people. Kev's in. Kev Seaton. Hey, Kev, thanks for those patches. That's really useful. Right, okay, so... ignore brilliant. Oh, engorged. Sorry about that, Kev. He said, "Is that even a word?" I don't know. Honestly, I don't. Right, changing the topic completely. Dave Thomas has asked. Now, this might tie back to what you were talking about with harmony. I mean, there'll be a lot of people out there who'll know, and a lot of people who won't. That you went to conservatoire, or you went to music college anyway. I don't know whether conservatoire is the right term.
Conservatorium.
Thank you
very much. The Queensland
much.
Conservatorium of Music in Mackay. Yes.
The great conservatorium in the sky. And so Dave Thomas asked a really simple question, but at the same time, it's about as complicated as it comes. Is what is your current favourite chord?
My current favourite chord, I would say, I've had a few of them over the years. I love this one, which is it's like I guess it's like an E minor 11.
Okay.
Which is really beautiful. But I'm also really fond of this, which is a...
Oh, okay.
Actually, if you listen on, you mentioned the Tim Spirits album before. If you listen to Carnivore, which is the opening track, it's all based around that chord.
Hang on a minute. Stay where you are.
Okay.
I reckon if I wave my finger in the air long enough, we might actually have that. Oh, by the way, quickly, I've got to say hello to Barry. Barry's watching. Hey, Barry.
Hey, Barry.
And the almighty Chris Buck has just arrived.
Oh, man.
Chris, how are you doing? Let's see if we can...
I've just been trumped.
I was hoping we were going to be able to play a bit of the track, but are we up? Let's go for it. Is it happening?
Yeah.
Carnivore, yeah. Is that the track?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. We're just going to try and get some volume up if we can.
Okay.
Is that happening? I think it's quite... Has it got quite a quiet start to it?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, not so quiet that you wouldn't hear it.
Oh, there we go. We've got something coming through now. I can hear it. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Can you crank that a little further?
There's that chord.
How's it go? Can you just show us how you play that chord? Okay.
Just an augmented major 7 chord.
Okay. Great. But this all comes out of this passion for chords, for harmony, for that sort of structure that you get from that, and how that sort of leads the melody. And this came out of you. This came out of your love of guitar, but also you going to the great conservatorium in the sky to kind of learn about this stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So it's like a jazz course, and I was at a point in my life with like, you know, I know that I wanted to play to really understand this stuff. The issue was I was gigging, so it meant leaving the band I was in, traveling to the uni to the con, which I did, and it was awesome. And that knowledge of harmony and stuff that I learned, I've never sort of forgotten. And I'm studying now, actually, more, probably the most intense period of study I've had since then, actually. But yeah, just the music is so amazing, and actually, when you get into it, it's one of those things. The more you learn there is to learn. And if your thing is I just want to be able to play a pentatonic and some blues stuff, that is awesome, because that's just as valid as anything. But if your thing is that you want to be able to play if you want to start creating interesting, more harmonically complex things, then it's a wonderful road to go down. I love it. I can just sit down for hours and hours every day and just exploring that sort of stuff. It's wonderful.
Okay, right. I'm just going to quickly switch back to the questions, because there's a question coming from Steve. Well, I know we're running out of time.
That's okay. It's okay. I can go over by a few minutes. It's all right.
Okay, so Steve Richardson's come in. He says, Dan, how much of your week is GigRig based other than TPS et al? So what's how are you balancing I guess the question is, how are you balancing your work week?
So I would say I'm probably doing at least one full day a week on TPS. If not one, it's two. It just depends. Like if I'm there on Monday, before the live stream, we'll be planning shows for the future. And because GigRig's my business, it's like I'll still do a full week. If I'm working 12 hours a day on that, I still manage to do a 50-hour GigRig week, even if I do 2 full days on TPS.
Yeah.
So anyone that runs their own business will understand that normal working hours do not apply. But man, wow, I love it. I feel so blessed to be able to do what I do. It's that thing that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and it's so true. It doesn't mean that you don't get stressed and you don't work hard and you don't, get tired and stuff. You don't push yourself, but boy, oh boy, I love it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, that is a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Okay, 2 quick things.
Yes.
Chris Buck has said, Dan, your harmonic knowledge is superb. I never know what you're going to play next, but not in the same way I never know what I'm going to play next.
Oh, bless you, mate.
Dear.
The thing is, when I play stuff like that, I don't know what I'm going to play next. I'll have, if I'm doing something in A minor, for example, I'll have a little signpost. Like if I finally get to like an altered chord, I'll have little signposts that take you back to So I because I know the chord, I know the harmony around it. When I get to one chord, I know that I can go there or I can go there. I know how that's going to sound, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to let the melody inform the chord choices, you know. And the thing is, sometimes it'll sound good and sometimes it won't. You got to allow yourself to make those mistakes and then, you know, move them around until it does sound good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, Chris Buck is, wow, he's certainly one of my favorite guitar players in the last 10 years. I remember seeing, first time I saw Chris was there's a video going around on Facebook. And there was this guy, I couldn't work out what was going on with his hair. But he stood there with a strap and he was singing and it was breaking my heart listening to this guy play. It was so intense and every note was so emotional. I'm like, no, I know all those notes. And I'm like, how are you doing that? And so I got in contact straight away. I'm like, man, you're amazing. You know, come on the show. And then, you know, obviously met Chris and he's an absolute legend. They came on the show and built rigs for him. And yeah, there's one of those guys that can just a couple of notes and he just says so much. It's, man, unreal. I remember actually because Chris was with us in Germany, and he had one of the new Yamaha guitars and was just playing a few notes, and Pete Thorne was walking past and just stopped. He went, show me how to do that, you know. It was just, he just has that thing. It's just that thing that cannot be learned.
That it is the thing.
Yes, that is the thing.
It is
Wonderful.
the magic. Okay.
See, everything that I play can be learned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we've got two things we've got to do. It would be hugely remiss of me not to at least ask what you've got on the board, on the floor. Okay. So because otherwise I think I might just get shot by most people on Facebook.
Okay, right. So this is what I'm using to record at home at the moment. Let me just, can I turn this around? Let me see. Yes, here we go. So that's what I've got on the board.
Do you want to just take us through it? What have you got there?
Sure. Well, I've got a couple of phases here. I've got an old Moon phaser, which is a take of an old MP1 phaser from Maestro. That's massive wedge-looking thing. A really, really fabulous sounding phaser. And then I've got, so this is really cool. This is the Ripley Fall, and this is a version. So to tell the story, I've got to show you this poster. So when Nick and I were in LA, we got a message from one of the artists from The Simpsons saying he was a big fan and would we like to come and have a tour of the Simpsons studio, which we did, which was amazing. And while we were there, he gave Nick and I these signed Simpsons posters. And then he did the artwork for this.
Oh, that is,
without the glare on it.
Okay.
Epic. So, and the Ripley Fall is it's got a phaser and a chorus in it from Jam Pals, and it's mega. So I've got the King of Tone on there, which is still just awesome. Kingsley Page, and I've got the D&M drive. Yeah. And I have the bunker, which I've been using. I've got the bunker, and there's another new one from Thorpe, which is called the Field Marshal, which is their take on a Big Cheese. Just epic. And I've got the Analog Man delay. Yeah. And so that's just what I'm using to record at home. My matchless is at the studio at the moment, but I'm using the Audio Kitchen Big Chopper.
Oh my God, those things are unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's best sounding reverb I've ever heard in an amplifier.
Yeah.
And that's going into my Grossman isolation cab.
Into the fridge.
Into the fridge. So anyone that's not seen these, let me put this up here for a second. What this is, move that guitar along. Hang on. So this thing changed my life. So under here is the speaker, microphones, and that then all plugs into my audio interface. But basically, so I'm still recording with microphones, on a speaker, but it's a 30 dB sound reduction in here.
Wow.
So I'm just in my tiny little room, and I've got some. I'm working on the EP at the moment, and it's all recorded in here with, that's an old Celestian Blue I've got in there. I use the matchless in the audio kitchen and all the guitar tones with those two amplifiers. And it is just, man, it's just
that is
magic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, of course, I've got 100 other pedals that I will use. So on this, one thing I will show you on the side of the pedal board, I've done this. I've got this little box here on the side. Let's see if you can see that. Right, this little box here.
Yeah.
And that's plugged into loops on my G2. So what that means is, I call them guest loops. So for a particular track, I can just plug any pedals that I want to try into that guest loops and sort of bring them in as I'm recording. Yeah. Which is great. So that's what I'm using at home.
Okay, that's well. There's the inside scoop for everybody watching. I've had one very, very quick question. Johannes has asked, how is your King of Tones set internally?
I haven't touched it since the day I bought it. The only thing I've done, the King of Tone has got presence control internally.
Right.
And I've just nudged those up a little bit. But I've left it set the way that it came from. It's pulled it out of the box, plugged it in, and it was perfect. This is one thing that I'll just quickly mention. A skill to learn is knowing when something is awesome and not messing with it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if you think about, players like Dave Gilmour, Davey G, and players like Derek Trucks and stuff, when they found that thing that is awesome, they say, okay, that's awesome. I'm not going to mess with that. I might get something else, but that thing is awesome. And there's so many players. Like if I think of, like Eddie Van Halen's a really good example. When I first heard his guitar sound, it changed my life. There are periods later on where that went, and for me, it was like. And that might have been a production decision or whatever, but I just think, nothing is. Eddie is amazing. Of course, he's amazing. And look, okay, Steve Vai's another example. When I heard, like, Eat 'Em and Smile, that album is one of the best recorded rock sounds in the history of the world.
Yes,
it's some of the most amazing playing, and the story with those amps and everything that he used, so interesting. However, I keep going back to that. That's still my favorite Steve Vai thing. I think recognizing when something is absolutely awesome and saying, okay,
that's it.
I'm not gonna mess with that.
Yeah.
I might do something else, but I'm not gonna mess with that. Okay. I think that's a real skill. What I'm trying to learn.
Okay. All right. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop you right there because we're way over time, and I can't let you go without doing a 10 quick fires. One word answers. You're not allowed to extrapolate on any of the stuff. You just got to hear the question and you got to answer it. Okay. But before we do this, I'm just going to say thank you to everybody on Facebook for tuning in again. Couldn't do it. Well, wouldn't be worth doing without you guys being there, really. Otherwise, it'd just be me and Dan having a normal everyday chat. So thanks to everybody.
That'd be worth doing, though.
That's always worth doing.
Yeah.
Right.
But thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope I hope the ramblings of a middle-aged man have somehow brought you some enjoyment of the evening.
Well, I always enjoy it. Right, let's see what happens here.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Quick fire round. 10 incisive questions with only one answer. Okay. One answer for each question. I should reword that, really. Anyway, if you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Together Alone, Crowded House.
Billy Gibbons or Jeff Beck?
Jeff Beck.
Boxing or wrestling?
Wrestling.
You're going to form a rock tribute band. Would it be Zeppelin, AC/DC, or Guns N' Roses?
Zeppelin.
Have you ever milked anything?
Yes, a goat that my mum bought me.
Okay, just quickly on that one.
That's a whole story. Anyway,
I'll
carry on.
I'll tell you. We'll talk another time. We'll talk about. I asked Rob Harris that question, and he had the kind of answer. I won't go into it now. The people who watched it heard it. Anyway, next question: William Shatner or Patrick Stewart?
Patrick Stewart.
Pasta or burger?
Pasta.
You always took one thing on tour, not musical gear. What is it?
No. Yoga mat.
You're walking up to the bar in a pub. What are you going to order?
Aperol spritz.
Beautiful choice. And finally, what's the one thing we don't know about you that we really should?
Oh man. That I'm a stress eater, and so yeah, whenever I'm stressed, I overeat, and so keeping me distracted with all these sorts of things is really good.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
my
amazing.
pleasure, mate. My pleasure. Anytime.
It's been fun as always. Everybody's just saying thank you. They're just coming in saying thanks very much. They've really enjoyed it.
So welcome. You're so
awesome.
welcome, guys. And,
Right, we're going to sign off the
yeah.
Facebook and let's see. Are we're going to go off the Facebook now. I'm going to wave. Dan, wave.
Okay. See ya.
See ya.